Okay. Hey everybody, this is Silverspook and this is the Silverspook live stream slash video chat with our seems semi yearly or sometimes every other year, but it's a common uh, chat that I have with our very good friend, a amazing game dev as well as a specifically adventure game creator, specifically Technobabylon is probably the most well known game. One of my favorite games as well, and a great post cyberpunk science fictional game. And yeah, always great to speak to our friend James Dearden. James, thanks so much for coming on.
You flatter me. Good to be here again.
Yeah. But yeah, how is it going? Just generally speaking, you start wherever you want.
Uh, business as usual. Still, well, I say business as usual. So, well, yeah, still haven't got anything finished for the past decade, but that's as per usual. But at least I'm not trying to work on three different projects at the same time. Now it's just two.
From three to two. What are the two projects now?
I'm sort of lapsing between Technobabylon sequel, but sometimes it's just awkward to write cyberpunk dystopia and police fiction in the current situation. So I'm also working on another thing on the side when something to actually feel good while making, and that's more light-hearted, more comedic, something along the lines of Space Quest kind of tone.
Space quest kind of tone. So that's more of a traditional or like space science fiction. I'm not sure what genre. Well,
Yeah, exactly. Space science fiction and with a tone sort of like the early 90s is where it's at as far as my brain's concerned in development. But yeah, it's the kind of thing where you can die a lot and it reprimands you, but with the modern quality of life changes, like not having to restart the game and play through 3.5 hours to get back to where you were, and not the dead ends as much as they used to do.
ah, yeah, that sounds good. I think that's one thing I've been thinking about myself because I'm currently like in the thankfully final polishing phases and trying to think about like what is the quality of experience that people are going to be having when they play through obviously Neofeud 2. In my case, and like yeah, I was trying to look at some of the recent games out there. I was just taking a look at Heaven's Vault. I don't know if you've heard of that game. Um,
Mm.
yeah, so I was taking a look at that because somebody recommended. Actually, one of the future projects after Near Future 2 is I'm in several talks with different folks about possible kind of brainstorming, blue skying possible future yeah, follow up Silver Spoon games, and one of them is like an archaeological linguistic space, like science fictional, uh, um, set in the Near Future world, and they recommended Heaven's Vault. So I was just looking at that and kind of seeing like how the kind of decisions people have and the kind of like just kind of like general expectations people some expectations people have in some of those kinds of games. So but yeah, I totally get you. Sorry, I totally get what you mean by kind of quality of life because I was like, oh, I'm trying to like not make it too hard, too tricky and too for modern audiences, but also I know there's certain kind of like people who really like the '90s style of adventure games that as you kind of mentioned, where um, you might have to you put a little more thought and work, and it may take you some time to figure out some of the puzzles. So yeah, it's always trying to balance those is tricky. But yeah, anyways, sorry. How has the I saw you posted some pictures of Techno Babylon. I think it's Techno Babylon 2. I think you mentioned you were kind of like going through your old material. How has that process been? I think you said something about like, sometimes I want to slap old James. uh,
Yeah, it was. It's sort of like seeing the stuff from even 10 years ago, I suppose, when it started. But I mean, since then, I know I figured out a lot more about 3D, about Blender, about how Unity works, what things it can and can't do. So now I, hop in the time machine. I'd quite happily slap him around the head and say, "No, you can't. Unity can't do that. No, this is not how Unity would do it. Unity and AGS think in completely different ways." So, uh,
Were you work?
also the
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
also the kind of art that I was demanding from, because I was still doing things with Ben Chandler and Ivan Yulinov, with whom we worked on Technobabylon, the first game, and now I realize that the kinds of things I was asking for were inappropriate for 3D. It just didn't work, despite how I was still thinking in 2D.
Ah, still thinking in 2D. Yeah. I guess you said there's kind of multiple iterations, different versions of Technobabylon 2. Um, uh, is it the current one like tending towards 2D, or is it 3D at this point? Would you say?
Um, so the version that's currently on the go is 3D. It's it looks a bit different to the other ones, the previous ones, but I'm holding off on revealing the visuals of that one until they're a bit more solid. Um, in 3D, solid, ho ho. But it's it's kind of a matter of I want to make sure it works more than anything else because Unity, yeah, the Unity has this really great plugin called Adventure Creator, and it's great for it's for streamlining the development of point and click adventures. Because they get all the systems in place, and in some ways it makes it think like AGS in terms of how things are put together. But it also, if you're starting out with Unity, it also sort of blinds you to how Unity systems need to work and what you have to have done. Um, AGS has a lot of flexibility in terms of brute forcing things. Because I look at my code in the AGS for Technobabylon 1, and even now I'm thinking, good grief, why did I do that? So, in terms of changing over to Unity, it's been lots of different experiments, kind of. So we had there was the one version where it was completely 2D, like Monkey Island 3. There was one where it's 2.5D, so uh, like a lot of the PlayStation ones, like Discworld Noir, um, or Monkey Island 4, and the ones that are completely 3D, which might have been biting off a bit more than I can chew, but I was hoping that I kind of started with making maps for Half-Life back at school, so I was hoping some of the skills would transfer over from that. But
Master Half Life. That's the good old days. That's fine. Yeah, I think I remember seeing some of your early, yeah, the Techno Babylon design and kind of like there's a kind of like a not quite hybrid, but it's like there's like 3D elements that kind of get infused into 2D world or like the cityscapes and such. That obviously they look really great, and in Techno Babylon everything turns out really well. But a lot of things kind of began as 3D, kind of morphed into 2D, and it kind of goes back and forth in this interesting way. But yeah, yeah, and I think yeah. So that yeah, that's interesting. How like trying to decide on what exactly, how many dimensions we'll use in this game. That's a tricky question. Yeah, and I guess like when it comes to the world, like the story and the characters and such, that's pretty much the same. I think you mentioned like Techno Babylon 2 is kind of like not a prequel, a sequel, I believe, right? And it follows, I think Latha Sesame, who is one of the main characters, is one of the main characters in Techno Babylon 2, if I'm not mistaken.
so yeah, that's another area I've been altering, amending, adjusting. Is one of the things I've been trying to do is make it shorter and shorter, trim things, and also combine that with making it accessible for people who haven't played the first game. So if someone wants to jump in at Technobabylon 2, they won't have to have seen the first one, but I also can't make it quite as long as the first one either, because at the moment it's just me working on it, um, visuals and all. But uh, so at the moment, the protagonist is Dr. Lau, Max Lau, but at this stage she's not Dr. Lau yet. She's community core officer Lau, who's been assigned to train under the grumpy old specialist Dr. Regis.
Oh, okay. So I must be misremembering. Yeah,
Oh no
yeah.
no no no! This is the newer development because I had like three different essential base plots for a sequel going on. One following the straight on from the first game, one going with somebody completely different, and one is a sort of prequel thing with Lau and Regis.
Oh, okay, okay. I see, I see. Cool. Well, I love all the characters. Max Lau, uh, Regis, the Texan, uh, the Texan, and then Lala Sesame, the virtual world loving hacker that is jonesing to get back into the trance. Yeah, good times. Yeah. I don't know what to talk about before, but yeah, definitely when I played Technobabylon, I was like, that was one of the games that sold me on using Adventure Game Studio and trying to do a solo dev project. So, yeah, it was great to see any of those characters coming back. Will be a real nostalgia and a good time, I think. But yeah, um, yeah. So I guess you said just you kind of working on it at this moment. Uh, 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 are you in AGS or are you kind of working on more the art stuff, the story? How's that going?
So at this stage, because it's me, I have the advantage of being able to. I'm getting the things together that I could use, which at until a certain point, it could go either 2D or 3D in terms of direction. Because the way I did, so even in the first game, the way we did backgrounds was that I'd build them in Blender in 3D and then Ben would paint over that. So in terms of making 2D backgrounds using 3D tools, I can do that. I've got a new system set up so that I can do what's called rotoscoping characters in Blender. So I build the character model, hit F12, and then it spits out thousands of frames of animation. I've got walk cycles preloaded, talking animations, pickup animations, and I can just export those, import those animations into any other characters and spew out, new frame. Ideally, yes, it will take some tweaking afterwards to make it look nicer, but it's not a, it's not as hard a process to make character animations once I have models set up. But that's also the kind of model that could be used for a fully 3D game. So at the moment, it's kind of a matter of the character design and nailing the narrative design, trying to get it to the right kind of length. Um, what exactly I'm planning to do with it. What can I cut out of it, especially, which is frustrating because I have a huge document of years and years worth of ideas and notes. Okay, I have to save this one for another thing. Oh, but I want the factory full of Cheffy machines making guns.
I want the factory full of chefing machines making guns. Yes.
They all think they're making eating utensils of some kind, but you put them all together and you end up with a submachine gun.
That sounds interesting. That sounds like a fun area to visit. Um, yeah, so that's interesting. To be honest, I was actually just thinking about that. I was looking into how to because I was looking at as I said, like future projects. I was looking at how to. I haven't worked in too much 3D. Obviously, I did that Terminus Machina, which is a Deus Ex mod about was that about 15 years ago now, and I was looking at getting back into that. That's another getting into more 3D Deus Ex, some using some 3D engine. I was looking at the Doom engine, the GZ Doom engine, and like how to generate 3D. Well, if you're doing like 2D sprites in a 3D world, like the way the Doom is, then how to generate a whole bunch of sprites, so you don't have to make 100 animations for each. 100 just like painted animations for each character, because I'm used to like painting lots, and I make like sprite animations for like Call Carbon or Proto J or the characters from Neofeud in for Adventure Game Studio, but just kind of like painting them in Photoshop. It's not too bad, but it's mostly just like from the front view. But the 3D needs a lot more sprites in total if you're gonna do that. If it's not like full half, like I think Half-Life One was like actual 3D, right? It's 3D characters, and whereas like some of the modern, or I should say like a lot of the retro, like sometimes it's like retro boomer shooters, or like retro, like the what is that called, the build engine, which is like Duke Nukem was made in, and they still have like a sprite based. The characters are all sprite based, right? And so anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
there was Ion Fury that had actually that was using build itself, 2D characters, 3D background. Um, and its more recent sequel, the name has escaped
Aftershock.
my head.
Oh no,
Hmm?
is Iron Fury Aftershock or no?
I think. Let me just fire up Steam and see what it was, because I was playing it recently. Phantom Fury.
Ah, yeah.
So yeah, Phantom Fury. They've kind of gone for a boomer shooter, uh, late, the Half-Life kind of situation, low poly. It's funny because a lot of the things that people make people think boomer shooter these days are not things they would have done back then. Like you've got conspicuously pixelated textures, where in those days they'd have been trying to get the engine to anti-alias the hell out of them to make it look smoother-ish, and running them at resolutions like 1920 by 1080 and higher. That's just not how they looked. 640 by 480. That's how it's supposed to be played.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, the pixelation. I kind of like the pixelation. Not, I was just looking. Yeah, I was looking at. Well, I was looking in Doom, and I was like, actually, I think it looks sometimes. It can. It's weird how like seeing the pixels. I'm sure like if you look. Yeah, if you were in 2000 or 1998 and you're trying to, yeah, anti-aliasing, I remember like triple anisotropic filtering. There's all these options to make it look smoother and smoother and smoother. And yeah, now it's like they're trying to make it look more and more and more pixely. It's weird how that works. The vintagification of 90s and 90s. Anyways, but speaking of that, I just want to mention, since you mentioned Iron Fury, I was recently playing that. I replayed that a couple of times just because partially I just like the soundtrack, and it's very nostalgic. It's like being in it's like being at the club the Wachowskis went to in The Matrix or something. Sometimes,
Mm.
and it's got I also have I think the expansion for Ion Fury. It's just called Aftershock, which has like rideable vehicles, and there's like a lot of volcanic imagery, which is fun. It's a little more metal in that way. But anyway, that's one thing I was thinking of. Speaking of, I was thinking about going more in not necessarily a full shooter, because obviously I'm a little, I like to have it not quite as pure shooter, but like have more shooting, a little more like Deus Ex style, like with a little more dialogue and investigation, but doing something.
Mm.
Just I had this thought, like some people are like Silver Spook, or Chris, I like your ideas behind Neofeud and Neofeud 2, and this kind of the political topics, social topics, the kind of the philosophical topics that you're talking about. But I don't play adventure games. I don't really. I'm not. It's not. I'm not. I just don't really play them, or point and click games. And I was like, oh well. I got. I was thinking about like making expansions in the near world that kind of. But if you don't necessarily play those, you can try like a more, 3D game that has a little more, a little more combat in it, but still has the, what do you call it? The thinking person's action game or something. Anyway, long story short, yeah, I'm just gonna going on, but yeah, I
Have
just
you
think we
seen
go ahead, yeah.
there was an older game called Strife. It was on the Doom engine, and it had a lot of RPG elements, dialogue trees, stealth. And I only discovered it recently. They went and put up a remastered edition a few years ago, but playing it, I just kept thinking, how did I not notice this? And I suppose it came out about the tail end of Doom things and the early end of 3D with Quake and Half-Life stuff, but it's really good.
I had to, I just thinking, I was like, wow, that's like, I played Strife, not when it first came out, but I was like, wow, you haven't noticed that? Cause that was a game I was thinking that's like a kind of right up your alley. Yeah, it's almost, some of the art in it, I think, something about it reminds me a little bit of Beneath the Steel Sky for some reason. I'm not sure why, but it's, yeah, it's definitely like a game that has a similar feel to the kind of games that you like in Deus Ex and yeah, but in the Doom engine,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it kind of. Yeah, I know what you mean. The comic art, the characters and things, that feels beneath the steel sky kind of thing. That's where I get the feeling from. Uh, Dave Gibbons was the illustrator in that, if I recall.
Oh yeah.
Uh, let's see if I can find Drive artist. Yeah. Blah blah blah. Is it Dave Gibbons? No, it's Rich Fleider. Okay, I just don't know his work. Uh, is Beneath the Steel Sky? They made it with a budget of £40,000 total back in the day.
Wow.
So I suppose that probably, I mean, that's like uh, 70 or 80,000, like $100,000 ish in today's money.
That's what one and a half salary. I'm not sure. Yeah,
Yeah, these days.
yeah.
I was
Wow.
thinking of Beneath the Steel Sky. I met the Revolution, the guys at Adventure X a couple of months ago. They were showing off the latest Broken Sword game, and also got to meet Guybrush Threepwood as well.
Oh wow, right on. Yeah. What are the speaking of the yeah yeah what are the games that you're looking at, or I know you mentioned Iron Fury that have you have played uh or that you either most enjoyed or you're looking forward to coming out soon.
Ooh, looking forward to. Ooh, quite a few. I've been wishlisting a few indie things lately. Some uh, some odd cases slightly. There was one I saw at Adventure X and added to my list based on what I saw there, called A Week in the Life of Asocial Giraffe, which is kind of a stealth game where you're a giraffe who has social anxiety, but you also live in the friendliest city on Earth, so everyone wants to try and engage you in conversation. And if he gets bothered by people too much, his head explodes, so you have to stealth your way around avoiding conversation.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was good. The demonstration at Adventure X was good, but I think the people they had giving the dem, at the table showing the demo off, I think they were kind of, in terms of attitude, the opposite of the giraffe in the game. So I am sure plenty of the people attending the event, because oh yeah, I can get behind what the giraffe is thinking here, but yeah, the people at the table were just too friendly.
The head kept exploding, or
Oh, exactly, yes.
oh no.
Blood, exploded craniums everywhere, all over. It was a great big mess all over South Bank University.
Oh no. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I was just I was talking to yeah, so around the family here, because I'm actually one of the things I'm doing is I'm working with the because we have two kids, and so our most recent this last fall, last 2025 fall was they had their we are all kind of because I'm working solo for a long time. It's like was it 9, 10 years? It's like too long. When I talked to Dave Gilbert, and he's like, I can't work for more than 2 weeks, and then I need a dopamine hit and some serotonin flowing, and so I share my work at least every week or 2 weeks. And I was like, I haven't shared my work in 9 years, so like I'm doing this wrong. And anyway, but and so long story short, so I was trying to work with, as part of I was trying to work with some other people, and obviously in the household where I'm just working with the younger it's part of the education too, and like teaching them about game design and stuff. But well, we're talking about like some of the games that they're playing and some of the games that are around. And one of them was I haven't played it myself, but I keep seeing it around. It's called like Date Everything. I don't,
Oh yeah.
yeah, you heard of that one? and yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, because they'd heard of it. They're another Gen Alpha, and they're like, yeah, some of my classmates talked about it in there, and I was like, and I was like, what is this game? You can like date your toilet, like everything in your household is dateable, like the mouse and the mouse trap, your surge protector. There's like they look like a K-pop hip hop star named John Lou Pissoir, who is a personification of your toilet, and he's got like a, it's hilarious. It's got like a he's like white, like the collar of his jacket looks like a toilet bowl. His hair looks like splashing toilet water. He's got like a plunger hat. And anyway, long story short, I was just like, I was just, it just, when you're talking about this giraffe that has social anxiety, but, but yeah, there's like these games where it's like date, like literally talk to and date everything around you, like every single thing. And I was thinking like, I had this thought. I was like, what we're talking about. I said, whatever there is like a game, because like our oldest is kind of not into that kind of stuff, and it's like I don't want to date anyone. I want to date no one. And I said, yeah, I had that thought too. I was like, let's have a game where you have to try to not date everything. Try to not, just like the draft game.
I'm sure I'm almost certain there's some sort of visual novel games that are like that, just in terms of, it would be an option, and then maybe they'll make it just as much of a challenge to avoid oh no, hang on, there was a Doom mod. It wasn't H Doom, it was another one where essentially, again, the monsters are trying to date you, and you have to avoid that because you're the Doom guy, and it's kind of antithetical to your mission.
The Doom anti-dating mod. I gotta go find that one now.
I mean, hopefully I didn't just imagine it. Oh, another one I'm looking forward to coming up soon, next month, in fact. Peripetea,
Ah, yeah.
sort of a third-person Deus Ex-ish immersive sim sort of thing.
Right, yeah. Yeah, let me go look that up. I remember hearing about it. Yeah, I've not followed it that closely, but I remember hearing, and like I like what I was seeing about it. Yeah.
And I mean, I always love Polish games. Poland puts out some of the best, the home of Cyberpunk 2077, The Witcher, Mortar. Although, was there Boiling Point? Was that a Polish one? Blah blah. Yes, yeah. Poland. Oh no, that was Ukrainian. Yeah, Ukraine's put out some great games too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking through this. Yeah, I think I've actually wishlisted this one. Yeah, so coming out. I guess it's early access now.
It is. Yeah, February 25th was the date they had for it. Oh, there's a demo. Download that. Ooh, Ghostwire. Yeah, it's kind of, I've seen more and more Deus Ex-alike projects coming up from the indie scene, because I think more and more people, well, gosh, I mean, it's been a decade since Mankind Divided came out. We haven't had a Deus Ex since then, and it looks like nobody's going to do anything with the IP. The publisher Embracer bought it uh, from Square Enix a few years ago, but they themselves got bought up, so now it's kind of floating around in limbo again.
Yeah. Yeah, Mankind Divided. Yeah, that was a while ago. That feels like it was, yeah, literally a decade ago. Yeah, I guess they're not gonna make anything else. Someone has to pick up that slack, I suppose. Yeah. I guess I'll have to go back and make Terminus Machina 2, or there's actually, there's multiple there's already something being made in that sense with another team. But yeah, that's a I guess I see a lot of like fear, like FEAR, fear, like games and games that like are kind of actually one game. This is actually not Deus Ex like really, but it is like a Naughty's core. I guess like a trying to feel like the Naughty's style game. It's kind of it's a I guess it might be classified as boomer shooter. It's pretty wacky. But have you heard of Slayer's X? Uh, it's a very unusual game. It's made by the Hypnospace Outlaw slash Dropsy the Clown. Well, he's the producer, I think. Jay Tolan.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I've it rings a bell. Um, oh yeah, yeah. I see that. Yeah, I've seen it. So it's sort of on my radar.
yeah. Slayer. I don't even know how to describe it. It's what is it? It's not like vaporwave, but it's definitely like about that time, and it's like a game as if somebody who was 16 years old designed a game in his journal, with drawing super S's and like watching The Matrix and watching Blade and watching Underworld, and then like it's like it's hard to I even know exactly how to describe it. Like there's a S blade that's like a blade in the shape of a super S that gets a hack blood charge. So you have like, and there's like little like green on black text zeros and ones that float around. It's not a 16-year-old's really simple, not very good game. But it's like, because it has a whole team that's worked on it. It's got like at least a dozen people have worked on it. But it's in the Hypnospace. I haven't played Hypnospace Outlaw, but it's a kind of like it's a game like set in that 90s Naughty's universe where I guess it's a little bit like the Nameless mod, where like the whole internet, like the interwebs of that time period is like the space, is like the world, which is like, it's a very meta. It's hard to describe. But anyways, it's like a retro shooter, but it is like it uses like that. It's the same kind of like engine. I don't know if it's build. I think they might have made their own custom engine, but it looks kind of like build. And but it's pretty much a straight shooter with lots and lots of comedy elements in it. Not definitely not puzzle. Definitely not like, it's not like an espionage. It doesn't have all like the cloak and dagger and the complex storylines as like Deus Ex, but it does have like it has a lot of the scenery and nostalgia of the noughties, I would say. Yeah.
It captures the zeitgeist in a way that few other games have managed.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. And the new
The
metal
name,
soundtrack, yeah. I listen. I find myself going back and listening to Slayer's X soundtrack, which has a lot of actual artists from that time too. Yeah.
yeah. Nameless mod. Absolutely recommend it to anyone who's played Deus Ex and wants more of the original Deus Ex, and or if they're the kind of age that they can remember the GameSpy forums.
Yes, the nameless mod. Yeah. I was just talking. Oh, yeah, that's a good dovetail too. I mentioned. I know you mentioned last time we talked. The prisoner, and I mentioned to you that I finally, after many decades and after 42 years of my life, I finally managed to watch this very very very. I think it's a pretty important show, certainly in the history of science fictional and dystopian fiction. And but a funny story, like I told this before, but maybe not on this channel, but like the reason why I have now finally watched The Prisoner, starring Patrick McGowan, is because like I was going back and rewatching, and this connects back up to the Nameless mod, because I was like revisiting a Deus Ex mod. That's actually the first time I ever voice acted, and I can't speak to how good or not good it was, but I am on the TV tropes for that game though, and it was I voice acted the character named Number One, who is supposed to be, he's like the principal. I think he's the principal antagonist of this other Deus Ex mod called Deus Ex Nihilum. Um, uh, you heard of that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Nihilum it's not as big as the Nameless mod, but the creator of it, Fast Gamer, I was kind of friends with him, and I you know I was in the what is it called, Off Topic Productions that produced the Nameless mod. I was like around that whole
Mm.
circle a whole lot when I was working on Terminus Machina, and so the Fast Gamer guy said, "Hey, I could really use your help. I think you might have played some. I think you played somebody in Terminus Machina, and I voiced his you know his number two, which is like the principal but rotating evil supervillain in the Prisoner, and in his game called Deus Ex Nihilum. And he sent me all these videos. He said, "Okay, Silver Streak, what I need you to do is I need you to watch Patrick McGowan in this amazing show. It's called The Prisoner. Okay, now watch this number two." Okay, and I was like, I didn't know what it was. Like number two, like is that the bathroom? As like is that like 007? I think I said something really silly, but it's like no, I didn't. I think I thought of that later. I was like, what is that? What is this? And he's like, this is this really old show. I know you might not have seen it, but I want you to just emulate number two, and just speak in exactly that way. And I tried my best, and I don't know how well I did, but anyway. So long story short. So that's my first time ever voice acting. It was like a whole lot of voice acting. I had to say the word like decades like several times in extremely evil tones, or like just like very menacing, but also very calm. And I'm not gonna try to do a
Mm.
British accent in your presence because I'm probably gonna do it very badly. But anyway, but long story short, so yeah, so that's a connection between like Deus Ex, obviously mods, but then also that's why I ended up watching the entirety of The Prisoner, which I love. It's amazing show. I don't know why I haven't seen that for so long, and sorry, just throwing all that at you at this time, but yeah, it's a really great show, and I understand you have lived in the historical presence or the places in which Patrick McGowan has blessed with his presence. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, our apartment at the moment was Patrick McGowan's home in the 60s when they were filming Danger Man in Elstree, up the road from here. So Danger Man was the series he was doing before The Prisoner, and there's there's a theory that The Prisoner is kind of a sequel to Danger Man because they don't specifically name number six, but he does have the same car because that was actually literally Patrick McGowan's car
Oh,
in
that's the
the
same car.
opening. Yeah,
Wow.
his Lotus.
Yeah, I think it comes up that he at some point in The Prisoner he says, "I built that car myself," and it's like I know that car inside and out. And yeah.
Yeah, it's a kit car. They were quite popular about 20 years ago again, but they don't seem to. I haven't seen one on the road in years since.
Hmm. Um. But yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I just threw out several things at you, but I know I was interested. I think you mentioned The Prisoner. I can't remember what you said about that, um, I know like in terms of like this like that kind of dystopian science fiction and kind of not really escape the room. It's more like escape the town puzzle. It's almost like a point and click adventure game, right? You have to escape this bucolic but oddly very automated spy cameras everywhere little town. Escape the town, and you use what is it? Use logs. Use Axon logs. Use logs to build sailboat. Sail away. Get caught by giant floating white weather balloon thingy.
Mm.
And it's like I love. It's like the show is like very very like I don't know. Just I went off. I did like a whole video just on it, just commenting on it. There's so much to talk about. But I love how like the yeah it's like a lot nowadays there's like a lot of things. There's a lot of movies and TV shows that are just kind of like infused with it in the same way that like there's lots of like Blade Runner and The Matrix are just kind of like elements that show up in there are just you see them in science fiction and everywhere. And in The Prisoner, like just the concept of like being stuck in a place where it seems like a normal nice town neighborhood, but it secretly is a prison. It's not like a prison with like bars and it's all gray and you're locked in a cell, right? But it's kind of like it's a very pleasant retirement home prison. And anyway, I just like that the whole concept of it so
Mm.
much. Yeah.
It's also a really good example of the series working around its limitations and ending up creating something really iconic about it. Because Rover, the big white ball that stops people escaping, was originally a kind of a robot. There's a prop they had built for it, but the prop kept breaking down. And eventually they said, "Oh, screw this, we'll find something else." And somebody had seen a weather balloon that had downed, and they said, "Yes, I like that." So they ended up buying a few of those and bringing those in as a replacement. And that's one thing that everyone remembers about the Prisoner, something really distinctive about it.
Yeah, yeah, those white balloons, and yeah, to think that I remember hearing that in an interview, and then I think Patrick brings up, yeah, we that was not originally part of the plan, but it just happened that yeah, the our original device went underwater, and then it kind of never came up, and so it was the yeah, so and so the weather balloons. I mean, yeah, it's like that feels like game dev. Like I've got this great idea and this amazing thing, and then I tried to load my sprites, and oh my god, all this the whole concept doesn't work because these sprites are too big or the wrong kind of file, and I just got to throw all that away. Sometimes it feels like that. Anyways, and so I remember he said like the production manager or something had to like take an ambulance to town, and he said he bought as many weather balloons as he could to get back to so that because they had like limited window to shoot, and it just like had to make it work, which is that's kind of like the kind of the wildness and the zaniness of like production. I haven't worked on like I was on like a big time film set. I have worked on some smaller film, but it can be pretty all this money is going into it. You've got all these people that they can only work for so long, and if something goes wrong, you got to just figure it out. And yeah, so that yeah, that is interesting. Yeah.
It's always great when productions can use real places. Like there's that village in The Prisoner. They use that village in Wales, Pontypridd, and even so, a lot of the Disney Star Wars TV series that they've made in the last few years, the ones that they've made with the circular green screen, well, circular LED screen, things like The Mandalorian and Obi-Wan, yeah, all right. But Andor, filming it on real sets in Elstree, in London, in Dorset, they've got absolutely fantastic looks to them.
Oh, Andor. Yeah, yeah, they did. Yeah, there's a lot of yeah, on set filming. Yeah, that's true. I was
Like the
thinking.
Imperial, the ISB headquarters is at Canary Wharf, the financial part of London, and the rebels are headquartered in the countryside in Dorset. So I'm pointing out to my sister-in-law who's visiting London last month. I was pointing out that's the Imperial headquarters just here, and this is where Cyril lives.
Yeah. How much of that is obviously you would know pretty well about this, but like obviously a lot of the flying cars and flying objects, but like how much of that is like CG when they're in the Imperial city, and how much of that is actual London?
So it's kind of like the things that are close are London. So, for example, when you can see them walking along the bridge to the Imperial headquarters, everything above them, all the stuff they're walking along, that's real. But at the back, they've kind of put up a green screen to replace that with the city, the actual ISB building, or when they're having their secret meetings in the concrete buildings, that's the Barbican Centre. Actually, that's pretty much as is there. They just CGI the flying cars into the sky for that one, and probably also change the signs.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually does make it like feel a little bit more yeah, it does get like a whole other feeling when you have the not just everything be so CG. Yeah, that's and I think it probably lends more reality. I know for sure like actors have said like they appreciate having like to not have to act in like a completely green room with talking to a green ball. That can be really, I think I was at Sir Ian McKellen like broke down in tears right when he had to act at one point in one of the Lord of the Rings without anybody there, just talking to right just a ball. It was, yeah, that can be hard. So anyway, I mean, if you're really good at doing that kind of acting, I'm sure that it can be really amazing. But it helps to have some physicality and actual environment there to be in. Um, yeah, so.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating situation where they've evolved from it just being actors with nothing but green talking to, as you say, tennis ball on a stick kind of thing, and at least for the Disney ones filmed in California, they had a circular screen with visuals around them. There's also the situation where the visuals on the screen are calibrated for the camera that's filming. So when the camera moves around, everything on the screens move around as well. So it induces a little bit of motion sickness in the actors. Um, they had the same thing with Strange Star Trek: Strange New Worlds as well, because they got their it's a circular set about 20, no, 40 feet across with a screen around the outside, and once you know it's there and it's like that, you keep noticing that, oh yeah, they're not nobody's walking very far, and that's
Mm-hmm.
inside a screen, which is fair.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, it is fiction. So, yeah.
Mm.
Whether it's pixels or just yeah, the Hollywood painted backdrops. There's something kind of there are a few movies. I think it was like Asteroid City, Barbie. There's a bunch of movies that kind of use that I think as far as I understand, like painting entire painting the backdrop into like a large indoor space, and that has its own kind of feel. It kind of works in certain spaces, like big outdoors spaces. Um, I think yeah, but I guess yeah, for yeah, for when it comes to games, it's kind of a little bit. It can be a little bit easier, obviously, because we are not having to worry about having physical actors. I mean, usually, not having physical actors have to be inside the scenes. But yeah, trying to make believable environments is really a complicated thing, and then trying to make yeah, trying to yeah. I was just thinking back to The Prisoner again, though. I was just thinking of how the everything does take place in that little village, as you said. It was in Wales, and then they fly back. So some of it goes to London. I think like in like what is it called, the Chimes of Big Ben. I think that's like the second
Mm.
episode, depending. Um, and yeah, and how and there's a kind of he goes back to London, right, and then he briefly feels like he's escaped, right? But then, well, I shouldn't give away the whole plot, but he can never really fully escape because otherwise it's not really the prisoner anymore. Then it's the jailbroken or something. But yeah, there's that scenes with the flying over in his jet and like looking down at the island. And kind of it's weird how like I always picture it as being like somewhere. I think he says it's somewhere in the show. I think it said somewhere northwest of Morocco or somewhere northwest of this Gibraltar and like but south of Portugal, and it was actually in Wales. But I'm pretty sure that's pretty far from the actual place of this film is pretty far from where they say it is in the show, if I'm not mistaken, or it's basically the
Mm.
same. Um,
Yeah, Wales is well, it's certainly cheaper to film there than somewhere in the Mediterranean. Well, it was in the 60s for a British TV show, but it was the producers behind The Prisoner. They were bloomin' prolific. They were the same people who did things like Thunderbirds and Space 1999, like was it like the Lou Grade. He was like the Gene Roddenberry of the UK.
oh yeah. Um, is that the one that he said? I think there was a comment that like he didn't read, or is that someone else? One of the producers, Patrick McGowan said like he's like I've done 50 something. I've done 50 plus Danger Man episodes. I would like to do something else. And the producer, he's like, here, and he said, what are you gonna do, Patrick? And he gave him a script. And the producer, the way Patrick tells the story is the producer basically he said, I don't read things. I'm not reading that. Or and so he explained it verbally. And Patrick was like, well, he explained the premise of the show. And then the producer said, I don't understand a word of what you just said, but here's a bunch of money because I trust you. Uh, Is that, I don't know if that's the same guy that you're talking about, but I thought that was funny. Um, uh, I, I'm glad the pitch worked. You know.
Yeah, yeah. They even made a remake of it in the 2000s, starring uh, Jim, the one who was Jesus, person of interest, Caviezel, Jim Caviezel, and it had Terry McKellen as number two.
You know, I saw like a few episodes of that, and I was like, this show is pretty good. I didn't get to finish it because I don't, you know, there's other things I had to do or watch. I can't remember, but I remember like watching it, and then thinking back to it now, I was like, oh my gosh, that was the remake of The Prisoner. Now that I've seen The Prisoner, I'm like, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one because yeah, I remember thinking like, this is weird. Like they're talking to people. Why is everybody weirdly okay with this obviously fake place? I remember thinking that when I was watching that show, and then like there being secret passages all over the place, and yeah, but yeah, now that I know it's like based on, you know, the original 1960s Prisoner, it makes a lot of I kind of understand what I was watching retrospectively, and maybe I gotta go back and rewatch it. Um, uh, but uh, but yeah. Anyways,
It's the
I want
kind of thing
go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say it's the kind of thing I'm surprised they don't remake because they're missing something with that mystery. Oh no, what's going on situation. Like I suppose Lost kind of did the same thing in the early 2000s, but I guess everyone knows what the prisoner is. Well, people who've seen the prisoner know what the prisoner is these days. No surprise.
Yeah, I've encouraged people to, you know, that don't know, go back and watch it. Somebody just told me something like, "Oh, that's I hear boomers talk about that show sometimes," and I said, "Well, you know, I'm not that old. You should go check it out." Cause, um, uh, nothing wrong with being a boomer. You know, some boomers like boomers. I guess I'm a boomer shooter liker, so I guess I don't know. But the yeah, it's I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely worth looking at. What is your favorite number two? I meant to ask you that.
Oh, there's that guy who makes two appearances. He's the only one who does, and I think he was the one I enjoyed seeing the most because it sort of felt. I mean, it felt like the management was willing to give him another shot at it.
Leo McKern, I think. Yeah.
Hmm. Yes, he was also in uh oh, he was in so many things. Dang it, it's escaped my memory. I'm sure it'll hit me again shortly.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah. He. I think yeah. He's the most. There might be one other recurring number two, but he's the one that definitely comes back. He comes back at the very end. Has a very
Hmm.
probably the most intense episode, the penultimate episode. That was something. Um, yeah. Yeah. His all the number twos. I like how all the number twos they kind of explore like a different aspect of like control or how systems of collecting, as they say, information,
Hmm.
information, how that works. One of them, I think I forget what his initial angle was. I remember one of them was it the very well the very first one is, just kind of introducing the topic. The second one of them is trying to what I just realized the 21st Century Schizoid Man, right, by that the band that rock, that kind of psychedelic rock song. I
Hmm.
think that's a reference to this. The Schizoid Man is one of the episodes, right, where they're trying to break number two or get the information by convincing him that he isn't himself, by giving him like an existential crisis. That's like yeah, and by having a like a doppelganger impersonator, and like that was like a just one approach. That was one of the really interesting episodes. And there's other ones that are using like I can't remember. was just trying to think about it. There's like so many. I'm like I'm thinking of every single one. I'm like watching every single one, and I could talk about any one of them like for like a long time. One is about like school
Mm.
and education, where they're like programming people to get like college courses in a matter of like 5 minutes or 3 minutes or something, and that was really interesting. One of them is kind of like number six runs against number two in a democratic election, and that's all about democracy. And he's like, and my favorite part is like they're like holding up signs where it's like, and it's like number two is like, this is a farce. This entire election, this place is a prison. This is a lie. We all have to break free. And then there's like people are holding up signs like, okay, everybody, pick up your government assigned Molotov cocktail and throw it. Like now, raise your fist, and demand to break free. And it's like they're all being ordered to rebel. And it's like, okay, now he says rebel, everybody rebel. And then number two is like, oh, good show, old boy, good show, right, brother, good, perfect. It's like no matter what he does, he's getting madder and madder and more upset, right? He's like, no, I really mean you might. Like that's like echoed in episode with the whole audience he every time he starts they just immediately cheer for whatever it is he's saying, and he's like, no, I want you to all actually rebel, like actually actually do the thing.
Mm.
And they're like, yes, yes, of course, yes, absolutely, master. Like that stuff is it's I don't know if it had been done before, but I like how that kind of like being trapped inside the a kind of fraudulent free place is it's just done really well in that show. And yeah, those are some probably that episode, the democracy episode, and like the last one are some of the, I remember I can think about them the most. Yeah.
Mm. I think there's uh, uh, there's a book by some Irish um uh the Third Policeman. Yeah, Fionn O'Brien. It's kind of like The Prisoner, but it was written in the 30s. Uh, Similar sort of idea, but it's the protagonist is frustrated that nobody else seems to get how odd everything is around them. The policeman he's trying to ask for help. Um, Most of the time he just spends crafting these boxes in order to put smaller boxes inside them to make smaller boxes. And you're a policeman. Why aren't you helping? Etc. It's quite a short one. If I suppose if one's looking for something literary DNA that might have led to the prisoner eventually.
uh Sorry, what was that called one more time?
The Third Policeman.
Oh, the third policeman. Okay, I have to take a look at that. Yeah. um yeah, yeah, now that I've seen it, I definitely could talk a long time about that. It is like obviously, because you're in the UK, so like the I know that like I had like a bigger impact there. Uh, well, I obviously had a different impact. And uh, I was curious. I remember listening to him, the executive producer slash star Patrick McGowan, talking about the fall, the making and the fallout. He's saying like it's obviously uh one of the works he's most proud of, but also like he was basically sought after and chased down, and people were extremely upset. He had to leave the country basically after the season wrapped up. Like how is that? I don't know. Obviously, there's it's not necessarily a monolith, but like in the UK, there's a lot of different perspectives. But like how is it viewed there now, or like two different generations? I find that like, do they still see it as like this just kind of a cult classic? Is it like really important? Do people feel like it's they're still mad at him for what he did with the show, that not giving them what they wanted? How is it viewed there?
I think, to be honest, a lot of people younger than us have never heard of it. Here, they wouldn't even know who Patrick McGowan is. Those Philistines. But it sort of, on reflection, I think people are a lot more understanding about the ideas of the idea behind doing something that wraps up in a surreal, trippy kind of way, because there have been more things that do that. It's more of uh, it is more conventional than it used to be back then. Um, but these days, people remember it as um, very 60s, very of its time, very at the time novel, and with its own unique way of doing things. And they don't really feel these days. People don't feel like there needs to have been more to it. There was enough there, and if they had just made season after season after season of it, that would have detracted from it. But some people reckon it could have been a different ending, something more coherent. But nobody's nobody's concerned about that so much anymore. It's more about the fun of the journey getting there. The real number two is the friends we made along the way.
Yes, and the friends you made along the way put you in jail, drugged you, and kidnap you every single time you tried to leave the yeah, that's yeah, it's a yeah, it's a lot of fun. I was just it just popped into my mind, and I was just watching this other show called not it's a different it's a sci-fi show, but it's like a kind of a slightly um it's a sci-fi show, I would say, on I think it was on Prime. It was called what is it called, Paradise Hills, which stars the biggest names in it are actually Aquafina and actually Mila Jovovich, who was in like Resident Evil and all that, and the Fifth Element. In sci-fi, probably Fifth Element and Resident Evil is the biggest. But anyways, but like if I hadn't seen I was just thinking about like the premise is like it's like girls are being brought basically in a dystopian future to like be, it's like a kind of like a finishing school. It's like a feudal elite upper class training facility, finishing school to make proper good women to marry into lords and barons and kings and this. They call them the uppers. It's a kind of it's almost like the Prisoner crossed with Bridgerton or something, where it's like yeah, where it's like you must marry, and if you don't marry, like you're on an island, right? And they try to escape. Like she's trying to build a boat to escape this creepy place where there's also like these secret passages that are like, all these kind of like, it looks like a James Bond villain layer with it, like just like in The Prisoner, where you go under the island, there's all these secret places that are like surveilling everything, and you think you're just learning how to sip, but it's all like girls, right? They're learning how to sip their tea properly and enjoy their 50-calorie French snail dinner. They're like, this is not enough food for me, and it's like, well, you must learn to eat the proper amount of it. It's like it's all like this, like it's like a grooming school to make proper ladies. Anyways, and then but it's like the whole thing, it's like something is wrong with this, right? It seems like it's in some kind of like 1800s Victorian, or possibly there's some Elizabethan like ruffled attire that they have, but then it's just all kind of different eras. And then like later on, you see there's like what looks like an early 20th century, like it looks like a vehicle you might see in London in the early 20th century, but it's like got rockets coming out the back. So it doesn't really tell you, but later on you're like, oh, we're actually in the future, and they're just kind of like they're like overlaying all like the fashion and the culture is like choosing to kind of like go back, or it's choosing to like especially among these elite circles, go back to like 17, 16, 15 or 14th century European nobility, fashion and food and stuff. It's so weird. And then but because the girls that are there, they're like in like sweaters when they first get there. One of them is Aquafina. Has like, she's like in a metal band, right? And she's like got like all these spikes coming out of her headphones. She does like, I'm not gonna do ballroom dancing. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna go back to, she's like from Beijing, so I'm gonna go back to Beijing and be in my metal band. And but they're like, no, you're going to be a proper lady. Anyway, long story short, it's so then but they're like, we have to escape this place. They're drugging, they're trying to force us, and I don't know what they're doing, but something horrible is happening here. And but they're trying to build boats and escape the island and get off the island, but they can't, because when you try to escape, somebody comes and grabs you. Not a giant rolling 6-foot diameter weather balloon, but some some butler boys or somebody dressed in white is gonna come capture you and put you under. And I was just anyway, I was just thinking
Mm.
like this is at least partially, drawing its DNA at least partially is coming from the prisoner, in that sense. Yeah.
Well, it's a good place to get it from.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, I'm sure we could talk about that forever. But I just wanted to talk about that because most people I talk to, a lot of them haven't seen it, so glad we can share that. But yeah, back to the, I don't know. Well, we talked about that. How about the like? We didn't like get too much into the Deus Ex. I know you mentioned like Deus Ex is kind of making a comeback, or like Deus Ex like games and that kind of thing. To be honest, I haven't actually played all of them. I haven't played all the way through Mankind Divided, but have you played any of the? Have you replayed any good? I don't know, mods or played new. I haven't put any new official games out into the last 10 years, but is there any like really good mods or something or something you played and you thought about differently when you replayed one of the first Deus Exes?
Um, so I kind of had a run through of from the first game onwards again, but this time I used the revision mod, Deus Ex Revision for the first game, and it's great. It sort of changes up enough things to make it feel like a new experience. Like not everything's where it used to be, and again, it's done with the benefit of years and years of quality of life improvements that people have designed since then. There's a couple of the maps where nothing's been changed, and some of them, some people argue it's for the worse, but it did make it. It was novel enough. It had been long enough that since I'd actually played through the entirety of the first Deus Ex, but and also it was the first time I'd done it in ages without cheating. You know,
Uh,
I I can remember the console commands for Deus Ex. It's one of those games where the cheats are burned into my brain. But this time, because it has achievements, that encouraged me to, okay, this time I will make sure I'm not using God mode or anything. I will stealth this game non-lethally. And thank goodness I managed to get all the way through.
you got all the way through. Did you carry Mr. Mandalay's body, unconscious body, across the game?
Unfortunately, not this time. No, I kind of wish there was an achievement for if I were doing it, I'd have put an achievement for getting into China at least, or dropping it off in Jock's apartment.
Ah, um, you know what's funny? Because I remember, I think you were someone who mentioned me that you could do things like that. When I was showing our elder, part of the education is we go back and play some of this, these classic games, and we're watching. We have a whole list of classic movies to watch. All the Terminators and Matrixes, and and so. But I remember like when they were playing Deus Ex, like one of them, the older one decided, uh, he like tased one of the, I think it was the NSF. Is it the NSF you're fighting in the first level, Liberty Island? I'm pretty sure it's NSF, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he tased one of them and felt like kind of bad, or I forget why, but decided I'm gonna pick up our good buddy here who we had to tase because I had to get past, you know I had to get into the Statue of Liberty, and so I'm gonna carry our friend that's unconscious through the entire game, and it was like I feel I was like, oh, and doing exactly what you just said. I was just I was like, oh, it's interesting because it never occurred to me to do that, but to obviously, some people. I remember, like, I know James, not James Cameron, was Warren Spector. They kind of look similar, I guess. Warren Spector, the creator, lead designer on Deus Ex, he said, like, yeah, there's so many different. As an immersive sim, which is like genre of Deus Ex, it's like one of the things is people can play them in so many different ways, right? And so that's one thing I thought. I was like, oh, yeah, but it's one thing. I was like, oh, I remember my friend James talking about carrying bodies across the whole game, and now in my own kid is doing that. So it's not completely unusual. Yeah.
He deserves what he got. Mentally, he got a trip. Well, we ended up unconscious and got him on a plane to China. So
There you go. But yeah, I haven't played one with achievements. Maybe I have to do that to make sure I think I haven't actually replayed it in a little bit. I'm gonna have to. Uh, I think I did try revision, which does make things look better. I haven't got all the. I haven't played it like on Steam with the achievements, specifically trying to unlock them. So maybe I have to do that. Uh, um, you mentioned name. We
they've
mentioned
got
name.
like 300 achievements in there.
Oh my gosh, what's the hardest one you got?
Ooh, let's see. The hardest one I've got is uh oh, it's not telling me what actually involved. It's called um uh, uh okay. Oh yeah, fully upgraded the swimming skill and aqualung augmentation.
Fully upgrade. So you can. What happens when you max out your swimming skills? I never done that before.
It's almost useless. There's about one section of the game that involves a lot of swimming, and other than that, not really a great deal. Oh, there we go. That's one I got with more. Fewer people have gotten this one. It's called Regrettable Actions. You've got to take so much Zyme in one go, but to do that, you've pretty much got to collect every single vial of it in one, in the entire game, and save it all the way till Paris before you down it all in one go.
Oh my gosh, that's where are you gonna get the inventory space for that? Because in Deus Ex you had that very limited. I forget exactly how many does it. 30 tiles. I mean, you gotta fill it all with Zyme.
At least the Zyme stack.
Oh, okay. Oh, you can mix. Oh, you can stack Zyme, right? Okay. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I have
Oh,
never.
oh, make JC laugh.
How do you make JC laugh?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't say, but that's one of the achievements.
Make him. Yeah, he. I remember that's one aspect of Deus Ex is was it the voice actor was told be extremely flat and monotone so that the player can like self-insert the emotions or what their feelings about every line into everything. So he has that's why he has that what is it I'm not big into books. He just always sounds like a even more emotionless Batman, right?
Mm.
So if he laughs, that is kind of OOC. That's kind of out of character for him, right? To laugh.
Yeah, Elias Topexis in Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, he did a good job of being similarly like emotionless in a way, but I think his tone of voice sort of naturally lends itself towards that kind of thing as well. He's good at kind of voices um, in characters generally. He was actually he also tried to pitch the idea of a Deus Ex TV series after Mankind Divided came out, and they weren't making any more games, so he he couldn't get any takers for a TV series or movies for it.
Oh man, yeah, I never asked for this. Sometimes I go around the house and people be like, Holly. One of these days I gotta go play. I go out. Sometimes I play these games on Twitch, and then Holly will see that. And one of these I gotta go. She'll know some of the reference. Holly, my partner. Sometimes we'll get like what I'm talking about because I'll be walking around the house and I'll just be saying, I never asked. They'll be like, oh, so we're I don't know. I try to think of something, but it just something will come up and I'll be like, I never asked for this. Oh, there's a new I don't know, Stranger Things season came out, but it's like way late, and I haven't watched it in a long time, and I'm like, I never asked for this. Just like dropping that Elias Tufex's voice as best as I can. I can't do his voice, but yeah, he does have that really specific voice. And you mentioned that TV show, and Deus Ex. Oh my god, yeah, that's so bad. Because I've seen him in he shows up in a lot of like sci-fi show like SYFY shows.
Mm.
He's in Star Trek.
He's
Uh,
four different people in Star Trek.
he's four different people. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah, he's on the way to becoming the next Jeffrey Combs in terms of the number of people he is in Star Trek.
yeah, okay, I haven't watched every single season of Star Trek Discovery, but I know he is the what is he, the son of the Emperor of some really kind of nasty imperial sort of might makes right alien race. Kind of looks like a little, I forget what the name of the character is. And then
He's the race is the Breen, but again I forget the character as well.
the Breen, right? Yeah, and I'm like, well, whatever makeup. The thing about him, right, is Elias Effects is like whatever layers of makeup and like caked up. Star Trek, you're gonna have a lot of. You can have like whole other shapes of foreheads and eyes, and extra quadruple epicantic folds and all kind of interesting mouth. But you can always tell him because his voice is very like whenever I hear his voice. The first thing when I was watching, I think I was watching like a trailer for Star Trek Discovery, and I was debating what to watch. I'm not like I haven't watched every single Star Trek ever. Like I'm not that deep Trekkie. I do like the show, but when I heard his voice in the trailer, I was like, oh my god, wait, I know that. That's Adam Jensen, the less nano augmented descendant or predecessor of J.C. Denton. And I was like, I gotta. So then, and then the other thing, I remember that show. It had like that the guy who was in the Mummy. I can't remember his name, but I was oh, that guy is a familiar face. He was in a bunch of naughty things. He was also one of the special forces guys in one of the Resident Evils. And then he plays one of the ship officers in the season that has Elias Tufaxis as the Breen Imperial Scion. And then there's somebody else. There's a whole bunch of people in that. And I was like, oh, I gotta watch this. And but anyway, long story short, but he does a good job in all those shows and sci-fi shows. And yeah, they totally should do us. They should just do a Deus Ex show. I will definitely sign off for that. I'll kickstart whatever they need. I will make sure.
Connecting it to adventure games, he was also in the Star Trek one, Star Trek Resurgence, which was made by ex Telltale people.
Oh, what is he playing that?
He's one of the aliens in it, who are at war with somebody else. Um, he might be an enemy. He might be misunderstood. Who can say? Don't want to spoil anything. But what I'll say is, by the end of the game, well, half the ship's crew hated me for my decisions, and I kind of regret some of it. But with the information I had at the time, I'd do it again.
um,
Except for that one that left the girl blinded. But apart from that,
uh, yeah. I haven't played that one. I do have to add that to the list. I'm making. See, this is great because I have this extra long list of games that I can at least at minimum add to the Steam library of unplayed games. But Star Trek adventure game. Um, um, yeah, because yeah, I do have lists, but I have these games. I do have a lot of games in the Steam library. So some of them I just kind of like, oh my gosh, like that's the requirements on my computer, and so, I think one other thing I've been watching is not quite in the adventure game category, but right now, since I just finished The Prisoner, so I'm watching it just started too, is the Fallout TV show. I don't know if you follow that. Um,
yeah, what's the first season of it so far?
yeah. So Fallout season 2 just started, and so yeah, and I was a big the Fallout of 2025. I think was it 2025? Or in the 2024 shoots. When Fallout season 1 came out, that was like my TV show. I did like a list, and that was like my TV show of the year was Fallout season 1. And season 2 just started, and some people. I mean, I'm still really into it. I love the Fallout universe, and that the lore, the world of it, and also Macaulay Culkin. So Mr. Home Alone, the star of Home Alone, he went from Home Alone, and now he is what's his name is Lacerta something. He is a high officer in Caesar's Legion, right? So he went. So
Really?
Macaulay Culkin went from in Home Alone to in Rome Alone. So
Uh,
So, well, actually, he's in Rome, surrounded by lots of other Romans, so it's not that doesn't really make sense. Um, but anyway, yeah. But he does a good. Yeah, he does he does like a fun character. That's not the only reason why I'm watching it, obviously, but it is interesting to see him back there. And yeah, Caesar's Legions in New Vegas does show up. There's they're back in they show up in Vegas. And yeah, that show is definitely I like the kind of sense of humor, the dark satirical humor that I like is like the Neofeud style of approach is very similar to Fallout. I feel I can't exactly say what it is, but it's a similar sensibility. So I remember when I played the Fallout games, I remember like I really like the way this is going. I like the style of jokes. It's like extremely dark. Obviously, it's a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Um,
mm,
but it is kind of like, and the kind of commentary is very interesting. It's actually a little bit like The Prisoner, right? In the sense that the people in the vault, right? You definitely can see this whether you play the games or the show. The people in the vault are kind of all right. They're in a weird, controlled environment that, you know, I mean, obviously many of them are just um, living their little life. And Lucy is kind of like as one of the main characters, as the vault dwellers, kind of naively just kind of okie dokie, we're gonna do this now. But it's kind of like right. But she gets to the surface and it's different. But like it's a very controlled and everyone's really ultimately being experimented on, right, in those vaults.
mm.
And they're being told things, and there's all the information on them is all collected, right. The main thrust of the Fallout story isn't necessarily like trying to escape vaults or trying to necessarily the main character is not somebody who is just trying to get out. But I mean, although like the norm character, who is the brother of Lucy, the young the one who's trying to figure out what is the agenda behind Vault Tech and the Vault creators, or whoever these dark forces that what are they trying to do here? What are they doing to us, right? And that's
Mm.
so I feel like that kind of element is and also like kind of like the ridiculous. I love this. It's the ridiculousness of a lot of various American culture, ultra violent before and after, obviously of the Cold War itself, and the kind of some of the most horrible entities are obviously like the corporations like Vault-Tec, what is it, the Robert House,
Robco.
Robco, right? Mr. Robert House is Robco. And and obviously the U.S. military and government are also wrapped up as not looking very great in that entire, you know, conflagration of really nasty entities that end up ending the whole entire world. So it's yeah, it has a pretty unique what do you call it, sensibility to it that you can only really it's pretty unique to the Fallout universe, I would say. So yeah, I've been liking that a lot. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know if you I don't, you said you watched the show. Have you played games at all, or
Oh yeah, big fan of, well, I mean, there's a couple of the less, a couple of the PlayStation 2 ones that I never got around to, but yeah, all of the big ones and Tactics. New Vegas is really good. I mean, yeah, it's janky and clunky like everything else in that engine, but it's uh, yeah, it was huge. There's always new stuff to it every time you play. Uh, will just be a jerk to everyone. I really loved the ability to just ruin everybody's plans and refuse to go along with things.
um yeah, if you like New Vegas, I mean, I think whenever you get a chance to, I would recommend check out the season 2, because yeah, it is Vegas is the big highlight in terms of places in that show. I guess the show does expand the Vegas lore as well. I forget exactly where in the timeline Fallout season 2 fits, vis-a-vis or in regards to New Vegas, but it definitely is. Like Caesar's Legion is in it. There is a civil war, in Caesar's Legion. There's multiple Caesars or Kaisers as they call it. I think Macaulay Culkin insists his character is like, no, it's Kaiser, and there's an argument over the historical accuracy of various things. And anyway, but yeah, so yeah, I really like that, like the whole concept of people just grabbing a bunch of kind of Roman costumes and playing out this kind of cosplaying this empire, but then it's kind of like actually basically becoming that. Yeah, in a certain sense. But anyways, but when you played New Vegas, did you you said like you kind of like messing everybody's plans up. Uh, uh, did you like sorry, I had a question there, but I forgot what it was. Yeah, in New Vegas, like when you encounter the Legion, because I remember when I encountered the Legion, they're just kind of like marching through the wasteland. Did you I forget. Can you join them? I can't remember. Or did you?
You can. The first time I met them was after they'd burned and crucified that town at the very south of the map. Sort of, there's that route there. The game is trying to lead you around, down, and then across, and then up again. So the first time I met them, they burned and crucified the town. So I said, nuts to this. You know, well, the first guy you meet, Volpe, is in Culture, or Secret Fox. He says, you know, we're not going to kill her. We'd like you to bring a message to the NCR. This is what happened to that. So I said, nuts to this, and just killed him. So that kind of soured the Legion on me for a bit.
They're not the nicest people in the Fallout universe. You know, there's a lot of not nice factions and individuals, and the Legion are, yeah, they're well in the show they start out and there's you know, there's people get crucified. I mean, that's you know, I kind of like that because it's kind of like you know, not necessarily, you know, if you are Christian, you know, you
Huge
think what,
headline: Silver Spook loves people being crucified.
yeah, I love crucifixions. Crucifixion, yes, all right, this way, you know, crucifixion, just like in the Monty Python sketch.
Got heritage and traditional to it.
Yeah, yeah. I like how like the crucifixion, for people who are, I think because the funny thing is actually Macaulay Culkin is also in this show that kind of is also at the expense of a lot of U.S. culture, in particular like right wing conservative Christian culture called the Righteous Gemstones, which Walton Goggins, who plays the ghoul in the TV show, you know, the 200-year-old ex-Hollywood star that's now surviving the Fallout wasteland, and is one of the most badass characters in the Fallout TV show. And like, but he actually plays like Holly was telling me about this. Holly likes that show, but he plays like this. There's a family of like horrible grifting like fundamentalists like Christian pastors, the Righteous Gemstones, and Macaulay Culkin plays like I think he plays the son of one of he plays Walton Goggins' son, I think, and he calls him Papa Billy. Macaulay Culkin in an interview said like I call him that on the set of Fallout. I call him Papa Billy. But sometimes I try to say Papa Ghoul, but when Walton Goggins is in the full makeup minus his nose and he looks like that, the Ghoul, because Ghoul is a pretty intense character, you know. And so he just growl after that he just growls, right? And so and anyway, but like the crucifixion is similar in the sense that it's kind of like I think of it like because obviously it's kind of a sign, obviously, of the crucifix is like a sign of, you know, obviously certain religions, and it's kind of like, but you know, crucifixion is actually is a torture implement of an empire. That is also the sign that's carried by many people who are members of an empire that also torture people. So, anyways, I feel like you know, like the paradoxes that are like inherent in that, in the, you know, historically and at present, and the similarities between Roman Empire and modern empire, is like it's like it's definitely like that's like kind of what I do, obviously, as in Neofeud and Cyberpunk games. So I really appreciate that's just one of the things I really appreciate, and like this the way the TV show plays it out is very like they're not like watering it down in the sense that some like if Fallout was being made by like people who are not fans of the games, um,
Mm.
it could have been, and so I really appreciate that because I'm trying to think of a movie or a show where they just kind of there's a lot of movies and shows right where they take the original concept of whatever they're doing, and obviously you can't just make Fallout, and it wouldn't be a good show if they just made like Fallout One. If you just like you go on the journey to find the water chip and it's just like verbatim, it would be kind of boring. Um, so
There was a script treatment for a movie based on Fallout 1 years and years ago that the treatment got out, and I mean, you could really tell that they had to cut so much of the plot from it, and based on what's left in it, it would have been a bit of a there 90s sci-fi drama sort of jobby.
mm, yeah, I never read that one. Uh, uh, Speaking of game movies, though, I did recently rewatch. What did I just rewatch? Something. The Double Dragon movie. That's what I just rewatched. I don't know if you've seen that before. Um,
Oh yeah.
that, like and then I also I replayed because I was like I watched the Double Dragon movie. It's one of those things where it's kind of just kind of like this like millennial nostalgia food, and I need something that and I'm like this movie is actually a lot going on in it. There's a lot of those video game movies from the late 80s, early 90s where it's like there's the ancient Chinese mystic power, the double dragon that's being preserved. So there's that whole kind of like you know you know ancient Asian martial arts master kind of magical mystical superstition happening, and then there's like a whole martial arts movie. It's like a blood sport, or like it's like a Fist of Fury angle. This the Karate Kid like martial arts competitions are happening. It's like Big Trouble in Little China plus some Karate Kid elements there. But then there's this whole other like dystopian LA future world where like the huge earthquakes have happened. Like half of the whole I think that the San Andreas Fault is basically split, and there's all this underwater, completely submerged regions all over Los Angeles, and they have like the historical the Chinese theater right in Hollywood is like half underwater. It's like there's like a nuclear apocalypse. There's some kind of like nuclear war is part of it. It's a really post-apocalyptic scenario. There's all this like cyberpunk science fiction. Like Alyssa Milano she's like a hacker, like underground like revolutionary gang leader. She's like and there's all this hacking happening in it. There's also there's like cars that are powered by trash, kind of like the DeLorean in Back to the Future 2. And anyway, so there's and then what's his name? The guy who plays Terminator, the T-1000, Robert Patrick, is like this evil supervillain in this like suit that also can like turn it. He's like can turn into the Shadow Warrior. He goes like he has like the power of the soul, and he morphs into he can like go into the walls and go into people's bodies anyway. So there's like long story short, there's like so many there's like 6 different movies in this one movie, and I was like it was just a really speaking of like trippy experiences, that was and I was like, did this actually happen in Double Dragon? But when I went back and played Double Dragon 2, and like a lot of that stuff is just like it is all in the game. It's weird. And but long story short, because you mentioned like these scripts for movies that are I think Double Dragon and the Super Mario movie are two that are kind of really like it's like doing really good hallucinogenic drugs. Not that I've ever done those, but yeah.
They very much did their own thing compared to the games.
Yeah, people like, okay, I don't know anything about these games. I'm gonna just. But who wants to make you want to make your Pokes Nuke Dystopia? Okay, go ahead, because
there was that Battleship movie that came out a few years ago that I think possibly hewed a bit too literally to the concept, which is sort of, okay, what are you going to do with that? But then they also made that Tetris one a few years later, and thank goodness they didn't go for some sort of block theme thing. Instead, it was an espionage thriller about Gendy. Oh, dang it, the guy's name.
Hank Rogers.
Arkady. Hmm?
Oh, the Tetris maker.
Alexei Pajitnov, that's the one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it sort of becomes a political drama about Nintendo trying to buy the rights from the Soviet Academy of Computer Sciences.
Yeah, actually, funnily enough, yeah, Alexei Pajitnov. Yeah, I end up playing Tetris like more nights of the week, late at night if I just need to go to sleep or something to do with my fingers. But yeah, no, actually, Tetris. The Hank Rogers is the what is he? He's actually like Indonesian Dutch, and the guy who he's technically like the CEO of the Tetris. I forget his exact position, but long story short, like he actually lives in Hawaii, right where I am, obviously, and Hank actually worked under. I didn't like directly work for him, like his personal assistant, but like I worked in his building, and I basically worked for like some of his sub. He's got a whole lot of companies going on. He's got Tetris, he's got Blue Planet, he's got like space exploration companies, he's got game entities, and actually Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within was made in the same exact building in Hawaii where his Tetris, his main like Tetris headquarters is, and
Mm.
and so yeah, so and like it's weird when I was watching that Tetris movie, and obviously you've seen it, right, or at least you know the plot there. I'm sure you've seen it, right? So, uh,
Mm.
he's like, and when I went to college, part of my time was spent in University of Hawaii, and actually this is another weird adventure game tie-in. Neofeud was partially made at Hank Rogers. You know, well he's good friends with Alexei Pajitnov, right? Obviously from Russia, and some, he would also sometimes come by, but like Hank Rogers had like a place for young people that are trying to work on technology or games. It's like a startup incubator, right? Like a kind of like a mini Silicon Valley sort of, not Silicon Valley, but like has all kind of negative connotations now. But, you know, it's just like a place for young people that want to work on new tech, new companies, like new. It could be games. Like I was working on Neofeud, right? I didn't know what it was called then, but it was a space in the around the University of Hawaii and it was extremely low rent. So like young college students, or like 20 somethings mostly. Some people working on like micro satellite companies, micro satellite tech. Some people working on like biotech. Some people working on just software. I wasn't the only game. There's a whole game dev meetup thing. Anyway, long story short, so I was like working in Hank Rogers. I forget the name of the space. It was like it was in the back of behind the university in Hawaii, and that's part of where I had a lot of camaraderie when I was working on the game. Cause I would share like pictures and art, and here's how my game's going. Everyone else would share what they were doing, and it was like $50 a month to use a space. You get all these whiteboards. You got like high speed internet, and this is like the naughties, right? Or like naughties and teens, and and yeah. Anyway, but long story short, so Hank, I remember him telling me the story, or he telling my class or telling us, right, in his presence. And obviously I worked at his company too, and he would tell a story about how, you know, in the 1980s, it was a weird, you know, you know, Tetris was it's been a long journey, but you know, back in the 1980s, you know, during the Cold War, you know, I went to Russia, and you know, it was a summarized version, right? He's like, you know, and I had to kind of go and talk and negotiate. You know, some people have kind of played it up, but it was kind of scary sometimes. I felt like I wasn't sure if I was going to be disappeared by the KGB at one point and, you know, interrogated in various ways, you know, because I did kind of I did kind of go into their government offices and spaces and such, you know, looking for this game that was really cool called Tetris. But he's basically told like within it's a 3-minute version. I've heard him tell that 3-minute version of the Tetris movie, like several times. And he's also been on the Hokulea, which is actually like I'm a native Hawaiian, so it's like it's a boat that goes around the world. It uses like you know, ancient indigenous Hawaiian canoe and the sailing, you know, like what you see similar to what you see in Moana, like the instrumentless sailing. Anyway, so he's well known in Hawaii, and you know, and also at least some of his I haven't worked for him, but I've worked around him, and I worked at his company in his building for sure. And also, his space was part of why their Neofeud even exists. So, anyway, that's just some like random backstory on Tetris and yeah, all
So
that.
you've got your degrees of separation between Tetris and Neofeud.
Yeah, it's one. It's one. It's very low. Um, but yeah, it's amazing to see that story on the movie screen, and you know, they did a good job with it. Obviously, everything has to have a little dramatization, but I know he had to sign off on it. for sure. And and yeah, it's cool. It's cool, and he does a lot of events like with him and Alexi. Um, they're still good friends. I know that, and I think one of his points too was like if it's a I hope it will be a good sign of like how Tetris could be the movie in this story could be an example of how like you know yeah um you know hopefully like the way that games bring us all together we can get along with like less war and less antagonism and more fun and maybe this Dutch slash Indonesian American guy can reach across the Iron Curtain in the 80s and we can work together to bring fun to the world and not be so concerned with I don't know dominating it. Maybe the world could be a better place. I remember giving a talk and I do feel like that the message does come through in the movie because it is like a yeah it's anyways I'm just rambling. I'm sorry. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else you wanted to talk about? I obviously I keep going on for a long time. Uh,
Um, I should probably get close to wrapping up. It's getting later here.
yeah, for sure. I did want to say I hope that I know you have some struggles. I hope that the health situation, everything is going as well as possible. Anyway,
Well, thank you. It's they do what they can.
yeah, and yeah, I hope that at least we can see some kind of Technobabylon 2. Or I eagerly await any kind of Technobabylon 2 demo or anything else that or at least some updates on it on the Blue Sky uh, as
If,
as
if anyone wants to find anything about it, Blue Sky is the place to look.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, speaking of that, yeah, anything else you want to shout out in terms of like your public presences?
Um, ooh, don't look at my website. I haven't edited it in years, and I keep meaning to get around to fixing it. So anything on there is useless. It's kind of an anti shout out on that one.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely follow James on Blue Sky. I do for sure, and yeah, Techno Babylon 2 is coming. It's being worked on. It's partially being worked on. We know that, and Techno Babylon 1 again, like it's one of my favorite games. Do play it if you haven't yet. Um, yeah, and other lots of great Wadget Eye games. There's too many for me to list in one sentence, I think. So do check out all of the games there. And I'm going to check out Star Trek game and Parapatea. And yeah, so thanks for. Anyways, yeah, sorry keeping you so late. And thanks so much again for coming out and chatting. It's been a really great time, James.
A pleasure. Same time next year.
Yeah, approximately. I'll move it a little early if or whenever works out for you. But yeah, all right. And anyways, thanks everybody for listening. And uh, sorry, I gotta find the hang up button. All right. Okay. Have a good rest of your day, James, or night. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, bye.